Hi there, my name's Kiralee and I'm Agent 27 at the Cosmic Intelligence Agency, and this is a very special new moon in Leo report for the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. So this Leo new moon is coming up on the 2nd or the 3rd of August, depending where you live in the world, and it is at 11 degrees of Leo. So it's always a good idea to check out where 11 degrees of Leo lands in your natal chart, particularly what house or what area of life that this new moon will be having its effects for you, where new beginnings are starting for you. And particularly with this new moon in Leo, it's a great opportunity to really step up into your power. This is Leo, it's royalty, it's nobility, and its magnificence, just like the sun shining in all its magnificence, radiating powerful, courageous, strong energies from the heart. New moon in Leo. In particular, this new moon in Leo has a lot of pressure on it, and I want to talk about the pressure and ways to meet the pressure over the coming lunar month. So the pressure really is emanating from Saturn in Sagittarius, and I'll give you a quick roundup of the aspects, how they're flowing with the new moon, but more in particular to Saturn in Sagittarius, and then I'll jump into the meaning of it all. So Saturn in Sagittarius is trining the new moon, trining the sun and moon in Leo. It also happens to be retrograde in the very last days of its retrogradation. So Saturn will turn direct on the 13th of August. So as it's been moving in to come to this point in its retrograde phase to stop and turn around and go direct, we say that it's stationary because it's really barely moving at all. So Saturn has been stationary since mid-June, and even after it goes direct on the 13th of August, will continue to be stationary until mid-September. So from mid-June to mid-September, that is 3 months of Saturn in Sagittarius stationary. What's really interesting about Saturn in its retrograde phase is it actually comes in closer to the Earth. And it's interesting metaphorically as well, because Saturn represents the pressure, it represents weight, it represents heaviness, it represents gravity. So in a metaphoric sense, we can feel more weight, pressure, gravity on all of us as a collective as Saturn comes to this peak moment of retrograde at this new moon in Leo. Saturn is also continuing with that ongoing square to Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces is conjunct the South Node in Pisces, and they are both opposing the North Node in Virgo. And that axis is forming a T-square out to Saturn in Sagittarius. Neptune is also quincunxing the new moon in Leo, and that's a really tight quincunx. It's like within a degree. So yeah, I'll be calling in that loop, the Saturn-Neptune square to the new moon in Leo. As well, Saturn is forming a sesqui-square to Uranus and Eris in Aries. That has a lot of tension in it. So let's start with Saturn Sagittarius. So Saturn is the taskmaster. He is a teacher, and one that works to good effect by putting on a lot of pressure onto us. He's like a cosmic power that brings to us challenges that can feel so heavy and so intense, they can feel like they're actually crushing us. And in this way, with the spirit of the times, that's squared in Neptune in Pisces, we can buckle under the pressure. You know, we can go into an emotional reaction around the pressure that we're receiving and lose ourselves. We can abandon the path of facing what is there that Saturn's trying to teach us. We can go through routes of escapism, addictions. Like I said, we can kind of lose ourselves. We could even lose our mind and have complete breaks from reality with this kind of pressure on us. We can avoid the lessons also by doing what's called a spiritual bypass. You know, going past the grounded lessons around our ethics and morality and bypassing up into some elusive spiritual state of enlightenment that we are pretending we are at that level of consciousness already, and therefore we don't have to deal with earthly realities. We don't have to deal with the ins and outs of day-to-day life because we're above it somehow, or get involved in some spiritual practice that takes us away from dealing with anything. So Saturn doesn't like any of this, and it's definitely not advised at this Leo new moon or the upcoming lunar month. Okay, so to stay grounded in our truth, to stay the course with what's coming, to understand that this pressure maker has only one motive, and that is to remind us of our strength and our power. But the only way we're going to learn these lessons that we need to learn from the Taskmaster is if we rally up all our fires, all our energy, all our vitality to meet Saturn, not to defeat Saturn. Saturn is like a master. So we're best to meet Saturn in a space of humility and deference, but definitely meet Saturn, like stay with the pressure, stay with the challenges. Let ourselves be pushed down but get back up again. Let ourselves make mistakes but learn from them and get back up on them. We really need to own everything. Take ownership of our actions, take ownership of our words, take ownership of our thoughts, even on a more esoteric level, our energy and what we're doing with it. Own all of our stuff so that we can get the lessons we need that Saturn's trying to teach us. Do not blame. That's the way of not owning things. If we start to blame, like project onto all these situations in the outside world, it's like, oh, you're causing me pressure, or you're causing me stress, or you're disturbing me, or you're making life hard, or you make me feel blocked, or you make me go into resistance, or you're stealing my energy, or things like that. That is a way to not own things, and then we're going to miss what's going on, because those people or situations that are showing up that are causing the blocks or the disturbances or the challenges or the pressure, they're just emissaries of the great cosmic power that is Saturn, the Taskmaster, who is doing all that he can to put the pressure on us so that we can meet the pressure. And a great way to deal with pressure is to feel into the pressure. Become the pressure maker, Feel into the force that's being pushed onto us and get back in touch with the strength and the power within. Such a big theme going on, possibly forever, but really now, especially at this Leo new moon, is that we take back the power. And Saturn is helping us take back the power. We've been in this process when Saturn in Sagittarius has been retrograde to come back to the spirit within us, the divine within, the light, the energy, the source of life that's from within, and be with that and realize that so many things we're seeking in the outside world are just taking us away from having any kind of true independence, like dependence on the inner. the inner light, the inner truth, you know, the inner love. We're so conditioned to look outside ourselves for all the things we need and want. You know, we're really conditioned to consume and to get instant gratification, you know, without even thinking. We're so habituated to do this. Plus, we've also got this gamut of emotional patterning around coping with seeking things from outside of us. And Saturn in Sagittarius has been like, no, deconstruct all of that and come back to the core basic self and the truth within. Come back home to your authenticity, to your nature, you know, and also ground yourself in some fundamental principles or morals and ethics that are universally valid, i.e. applicable at all times to all things, you know, and serve the benefit and well-being of all beings, not just the humans and the animals and the trees and the rivers and anything that is imbued with the life force or the spirit in all things. Okay, so to get really grounded in who we are, in our truth, in our light, and in our morals and ethics. And to not take that square Neptune path where we find all these ways to dodge, you know, dodge our truth, dodge our power, you know, dodge our true morality, you know. So often we do things where we're like, you know, this is my ethics and morals right here, but it applies here but not there, you know. This is not true, this is not universally valid. So we're really, really digging in. And what's really nice about it is when we do come back home to ourselves and we do find what is ultimately truly meaningful to us, that we really want to ground ourselves in, we no longer are looking to the society to tell us what is right and what is wrong, because we live in a culture that has very, very spurious standards. And we start to be truly independent. So what's really nice is the trine going into the new moon in Leo. Like I said, Leo is very regal. It's a leader. It's strong. It's powerful. It's noble. It's heart consciousness. It's creative. It's source vitality. So Saturn's there like a guide, this taskmaster that's teaching us, feel your power, grow in your light, grow in your strength, and show up in your power as a leader, a strong, creative, powerful, vital individual, an autonome, a fabulous autonome. Another thing that's coming through, because we've got all this pressure going on, let's just quickly go over to Uranus and Eris in Aries. I mentioned this in my last video, but Uranus and Eris in Aries have been conjunct since May this year and will be conjunct to April next year, 2017. So that's pretty much a year of this intense strife, chaos, discord, and most of all, shocking revelations. Really shocking revelations, often tinged with violence and brutality, you know, and violent uprisings, and yeah, the unpredictable nature of it as well, and the fact that we can expect to consistently be shocked with awful news for some time now. Now, I know you know that that's already going on, so I just want to give you the heads up that this is going to be going on for a year. So what are we to do in the face of constant shocks, you know? So the best thing we can do is brace ourselves for a year and realize that we can't allow ourselves to get completely taken in by all the shocking news, you know. In terms of like Saturn square Neptune, like the Neptune in Pisces type is likely to, they're very empathetic, they're very sensitive. It's likely to feel all the shocks and all the pain and all the misery, and that can be completely overwhelming, you know, and may lead to, you know, all sorts of breakdown, and I'm sure that's going to happen anyway for many people. Like it's there. But I highly recommend that now you work with Saturn and you set up certain, you get aware of your limits. Like, how much can I take? How much news can I take? How much startling, shocking news can I take? Or put up the filters to the startling, shocking news. For example, you might want to just read headlines, because the headlines are enough to tell you what's going on. I mean, there's nothing new going on. It's just more examples of stuff happening. But for people that don't realize there's nothing new going on, the shock could be quite overwhelming. Also, you may decide, like, yeah, I'm not going to watch that video of that specific thing, or I might let a friend tell me what's going on rather than digest all the news myself. I might decide Facebook's getting too much, or the internet's getting too much, or where I buy my coffee, seeing all the newspapers lined up while I'm waiting for my coffee is too much. So I'm going to find ways to put the blinkers on around that, or find ways to shut that down and do something else, and maybe give myself an outlet to express the stress. Maybe that's for me making a sacred space, making an altar, saying prayers every day. Maybe that's starting to constellate in me through discussions with friends, or through journaling, or through doing some art therapy around it, that I'm really feeling that I'm so passionate about these things that are disturbing me. I'm getting motivated to actually want to make significant changes in my life so that I can address issues that I find particularly disturbing. I may want to volunteer at certain organizations. I may want to donate money. I may want to take actions that I feel are beneficial, short-term ones, mid-term ones, long-term ones. So everyone's going to have to sit with this themselves. Recognize that over the next year, especially, the whole entire collective is being shocked, as if like the universe is doing some action on us. These bolts of lightning, these shocks out of the blue, I call them bolts of enlightening, to wake us up, to shake us up, and to set about changes. So we can't change everything out there, but there's a lot we can do internally. We can also examine what's driving those atrocities out there. What are the core attitudes? What are the core beliefs driving the atrocities? And then examine in your own life how those core attitudes and beliefs show up. Are you holding yourself to a standard of morality, something like do no harm? And then looking out into the world, seeing so much harm done, getting shocked by it, then come back and go, where do I do harm? Where do I turn a blind eye to harm, which is complicit with doing harm? And I think that's a good one for everyone to look at, so you can actually take really affirmative action in your day-to-day life. Really start to flesh out of your own system the areas that require healing, not just in the collective but in you too. We're in such a interesting time. Neptune in Pisces is conjunct the South Node in Pisces. So the time we are in now is like, it's like this whole thing of you reap what you sow, but this is on a full collective level of every single past life ever. So it's what we're seeing now out there on the big screen of all the world events is an aggregate of all the individuals that have ever existed, and all their actions and inactions coming together, so that now that we are one united, conscious, global, international community, we can see things at once together, and we know that this is part of our history, whether we want to imagine this as part of our soul history, our own personal past lives, or part of our history of our family, like our genealogy, our DNA, or part of our culture's history. We look into our countries. You know, we look into all the different countries and see the history of racism, sexism, and all the isms and obias. And we see all that we can imagine. Actually, we can't see, but we can imagine all the times. And we can see with history all the times when we have not worked with the taskmaster, you know, faced and met what was there and dealt with, you know, our attitudes and our behaviors, and own them and take responsibility for them and make fundamental quintessential changes. You know, all the times we let things slide, or we turn a blind eye, or it's someone else's problem, or that's not me, that's them, all these, you know. And it's like, well, with Saturn, the Lord of Karma, you reap what you sow. Everywhere where we've dropped the ball historically is now up. Also everywhere where we have made an effort to evolve and enlighten ourselves and be the best, most, you know, reach into our potential as human beings, that's also available now too. So you just feel this like 50-50 edge of the wedge energy everywhere. It's showing up on the political front. Everything's kind of 50-50. It's like, it's like the dark light thing. It's like, by the way, all that stuff we're seeing on the political front, all those politicians and the institutions, these very like powerful, dysfunctional institutions and people that are out there, they are also reflecting back to us the sum total, the aggregate of consciousness that's happening on the planet right now. So yeah, that's very interesting. It's like, again, don't get too caught up in the actual people and the details. These people are mysteries coming to reflect back at us, you know, where we haven't been doing the work and taking responsibility. And now with this pressure from Saturn, you know, Saturn's in Sagittarius, a fire sign, and Mars is about to, like 3 hours or so before the new moon, is about to ingress into Sagittarius. And then over the coming weeks of this lunar month, Mars is coming to meet Saturn in Sagittarius. So this is full power fire. So what I recommend is, again, that rather than get crushed under the weight of the shock, detach, put your filters up, know your limitations, and in that place make space for yourself to vitalize yourself, build up your energy, build up your strength, build up your courage, and get ready to meet the challenges. Okay, we need you strong, we need you in your warrior, we need you to recognize yourself as the leader in your own being and recognize others' capacities to lead themselves. We don't need these false masters. The true masters come in terms of these cosmic powers, and we do well to follow those masters. So that's a bit of a rousing, you know, vitalizing dialogue. You know, I really want you to get the message to take care of yourself in this time. Make sure that you stay well. Make sure that you stay empowered. Make sure you stay strong. Take what measures are needed to do that. Also do the work. Continue doing the auditing work on you, the uncomfortable work of looking at your own dodginess. And you know, lift the bar, lift the game in terms of how you show up, in terms of your moral, ethical integrity. And notice the liberation that brings, and the freedom that brings, and finding a way to truly be independent, to truly be authentic. Yes. So yeah, interesting times. There's a lot of other stuff going on, of course, at this new moon, but I think I shall leave it there, leave you sitting with that message. Full power fire. So have a lovely new moon, and I will talk to you at the next full moon, new moon, which is going to be eclipse in Virgo. Ciao for now.